There are a lot of questions and mysteries in movies today. For all of the Blade Runner fans, the biggest question definitely is this: is Rick Deckard a replicant? But let's start with another question: what is a replicant? A replicant is a bioengineered or biorobotic android. It is a genetically engineered being composed entirely of organic substance. The Nexus series of replicants are virtually identical to adult humans, but have superior strength, speed, agility, resilience, and intelligence to varying degrees depending on the model. A replicant can only be detected by means of the Voigtkampf test, in which emotional responses are provoked. Replicants' nonverbal responses differ from humans. Nexus 6 replicants also have a safety mechanism, namely a 4-year lifespan, to prevent them from developing empathic abilities and, therefore, immunity to the test. Rick Deckard is a Blade Runner, a special member of the LA Police Department who is employed to hunt down and retire replicants. The character originally appeared in Philip K. Dick's novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?, on which the movie is based. 7 different versions of the film have been shown, either to test audiences or theatrically. The best known are the work print, the US theatrical cut also known as the original version, the international cut, the director's cut and the final cut. In the theatrical cut the answer is left ambiguous. In the director's and final cuts the answer is definitely yes. In the Philip K. Dick novel Deckard was not a replicant. He is even tested to make sure. The US theatrical cut had the theatrical happy ending. The international cut is identical to the US theatrical cut except for 4 additional shots. The work print includes all the violence from the international version, no unicorn dream and no happy ending. The director's cut is similar to the theatrical cut, but there is a short shot of a unicorn when Deckard is sitting by the piano and there is no happy ending. The film ends as the elevator doors slam shut. The final cut contains the new unicorn footage which is longer and shows Deckard to be awake during the sequence. This is how Ridley Scott and editor Terry Rawlings originally conceived of the scene. Deckard is shown staring into space, and there is a cut to the unicorn. The film then cuts back to Deckard and again cuts back to the unicorn, before returning to Deckard once more. The shot of the unicorn which appeared in the director's cut has also been recolored, and the sound mix has been completely redone. So, was Deckard a bioengineered Bane? Yes, he was. In a September 2007 interview with Wired magazine, the film's director, Ridley Scott, stated what he considers to be the official answer to the question, that Deckard is a replicant. The biggest proof is the scene of Gaff and the origami unicorn that does not allow for any other interpretation other than Deckard is a replicant. Eduardo Gaff is a veteran Blade Runner that works with the LAPD in the film. He makes subtle observations about Deckard, sometimes by making little origami figures, and sometimes through his unfriendly comments. The unicorn dream in the final cut, coupled with the origami unicorn, was meant to strongly suggest that Gaff knows Deckard's memories, like Deckard knew Rachel's, by having looked at her files, evidently containing detailed information about her memory implants. There is also proof in the scene in his bathroom, when Rachel asks Deckard if he would follow her if she left. He says he wouldn't and then leaves the room, but he stops, puts his hand on her shoulder and says, "But someone would." When he says this, Deckard's eyes have a red glow, the same effect seen in the other replicant's eyes and in Tyrell's owl. In relation to this scene, Ridley Scott maintains that that effect was purposely set up and executed on the set. How can Deckard be a replicant if the replicants he has to deal with are clearly all stronger than him? The replicants he was up against were all physically superior, A-level, but there is another Nexus 6 without any of the superhuman abilities the other replicants have, Rachel. So there are all kinds of replicants, from A-level the strongest to possibly B and C classes. As evidenced in the information given at the briefing by Captain Bryant, there are also mental classes ranging from A over B to C. This inevitably brings up the question, what is the purpose of making a replicant with average human abilities? In Rachel's case she was a replicant who wasn't supposed to know about it. In order to make this happen, she would have to have average human abilities, not the superhuman qualities that Batty or Leon had. If Deckard was supposed to be a replicant, and he wasn't supposed to know about it, the only way to make this happen, without letting him find out or making him suspicious, would be to give him average human skills and abilities. Although Deckard appears weak in comparison to Roy and Leon, he survives his beatings remarkably well. After being thrown around by Leon and slammed through a car windscreen, the only injury he seems to have is some blood in his mouth. His upper torso is unmarked. The argument here is that although Deckard doesn't have the superior strength of most replicants, he does have their ability to endure punishment. In the theatrical cut most widely seen in the US, there are still hints that Deckard might be a replicant. Replicants have a penchant for photographs, because it gives them a tie to their non-existent past. We see this in relation to both Leon and Rachel. Deckard's flat is packed with photos, and none of them are recent or in color. Also, the possibility of Deckard being a replicant is hinted at in some of the movie's dialogue. For instance, at one point Rachel asks Deckard if he's ever taken the test himself. Deckard dozes off, however, leaving the audience to ponder the question. Also, at the end of the movie, Gaff tells Deckard, "You've done a man's job, sir." While this is a common expression, within the movie's context the double meaning should be apparent, which was the intention. Also the early drafts of the script have him then add, "But are you sure you are a man? It's hard to be sure who's who around here." In Blade Runner 2049, Gaff is asked if he knew that Deckard would run and go into hiding. He confirms, saying that he saw it in his eyes. This can be interpreted in the figurative way, meaning that Gaff could read Deckard's sentiments and guessed that he wanted to flee with Rachel to save her. It can also be taken literally. Replicants can be identified through the VK test via their pupillary reflex, and they display a red glare in their eyes. So Gaff may have realized Deckard was a replicant, and gave him a hint about it, through the origami unicorn, so that he would run away, for his own safety and Rachel's. Gaff also makes an origami sheep, which possibly teases the title of the novel that Blade Runner was based on, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? But in either case, there is no definite confirmation that Deckard is human or replicant. Other hints are also non-conclusive. In this movie and its predecessor, Deckard seems physically inferior to replicants, but this is no definite confirmation of his humanity. He could simply be a next-generation replicant without a termination date, normal strength and implanted memories, like Rachel was described as an experiment. While in Neander Wallace's office, it is suggested that he and Rachel were set up by Tyrell to meet each other and reproduce. This would seem to be easier if both were replicants and thus Tyrell's products. They could have been designed to be attracted to one another. On the other hand, in such a tightly controlled world, Tyrell may have had plenty of knowledge about human Deckard, his strengths and his preferences. Rachel may have been designed according to Deckard's likes. She does show some resemblance to the pictures of women in Deckard's apartment, and Deckard could have been specifically selected to come to Tyrell and meet Rachel, which would explain why he was forced to do it, even though he was officially retired. The movie also leaves open the question whether Rachel only lives 4 years, as suggested by the final cut, or has an open-ended lifespan. As clearly stated in the theatrical cut, it is explained that Rachel died during childbirth, almost 2 years after fleeing with Deckard, but before her potential expiry date. So the film evades the issues brought up by the differences in version of its predecessor, allowing the viewers to decide for themselves which backstory they want to consider. But what did Philip K. Dick, the author of the book the film is based on, say? The purpose of this story as I saw it was that in his job of hunting and killing these replicants, Deckard becomes progressively dehumanized. At the same time, the replicants are being perceived as becoming more human. Finally, Deckard must question what he is doing, and really what is the essential difference between him and them? And, to take it one step further, who is he if there is no real difference? What do you think? Can Deckard be a human after all? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more film videos.